Welcome back. We are still here this week with our friend, Dr. Sharon May, and this is just so interesting. I love this idea of the safe haven marriage and how to argue and be heard. And one of the techniques you talked about in the last podcast that really struck me, that hit home, was about your dragons are never about your dragons, right? What the argument is never about the dragon, it's the dragon behind it. And so when you said that, it really hit me because that's just that's been a powerful thing. I know, I'll give you an example. I was arguing with my 3-year-old at the time, or 4-year-old. She was she was a handful when she was little. And there was a point where I got so frustrated because she was so stubborn that thank God I didn't say it out loud. But in my head, I'm just like, you're just like your dad. So the arguing triggered something from the past. And it was such a toxic thought. How can I possibly then relate to this child in a loving way if I'm having this very toxic thought? So fortunately, I caught it and I was like, oh, this isn't about her. This is about something that made me very angry in the past. I have to figure out how to communicate with her differently. And so what I love that you said is she's arguing with me and that means what? She's not listening and that means what? She won't put her toys away and that means what? Rather than just arguing about the situation, actually taking a step back. And it means what? Because immediately I was able to connect it to my past.
Yes, that is so powerful. And helping couples and parents understand that. And again, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I am so honored to be with the two of you, and the work you're doing with individuals and couples and families is so significant. So thank you. But you're right. And that's what makes a healthy marriage and also healthy parenting, is when we can understand what gets triggered in us, because it's not about the event usually.
Right.
It's about what that event triggers in us and the meaning we put on the event. And sometimes we can say, knock it off, just that thought, just forget it. And other times we have to process the thought. We have to usher the thought out of our mind, which means we have to name it, understand it, process it, and then we can tame it, mature it, or move it out.
I love that.
Otherwise, we become people that just stuff emotions. Don't feel that, don't think that, it's wrong or bad to think that I'm not ever seen, or someone's trying to control me, or I'm not valuable, no one wants to hear my voice, I'm not significant. Those dragons, we need to pause and say, where did that come from? And is that true? When was it true? And is it true today? And to comfort ourselves at that moment, be kind. Say, yeah, my efforts were never seen. And so now I've baked the cake and made the dinner and everyone ate it and then just left. My dragon is, my efforts aren't seen. How can I realize that, slow it down and comfort myself? That was hard growing up and not ever being seen. And now what do I do in this moment? I don't want to react my old way, yelling and saying to everyone, and that's the last meal I'm going to make. And in a congruent, authentic, real way, being able to say, you guys, I cook. Means a lot to me because it's my way of loving you. It would be really nice if you just tell me what you thought of the meal.
Right.
Then I get what I want. I can share my hurt and pain and my need in a way that I'm heard, seen, understood, and can stay in relationship with my spouse, my family, or my coworkers.
I love that. One technique that I learned, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, that helps me is to challenge the thought by asking the opposite or turning it to its opposite. So like this situation with my daughter, you're just like your father. Well, if I stop and I challenge that thought for a second, she's not just like her father. Not always. She's certainly not. It's not always true, right? And then she's got many great traits that are from both of us. But then the other turnaround I came up with, and this one hurt, was she's just like me. But it broke the thought, right? She's stubborn. She's like me. I'm stubborn. Really? And so a little bit. Yeah. So, but it broke the thought for me.
Yes. And that is powerful. Or separating out. there's two things going on right now. My daughter is stubborn. She has a mind of her own. She wants to reason everything out, which is a sign of a leader,
Right.
intelligence and a leader. But there's the other thing that's going on is my dragon raises its head saying that maybe, and I don't know your story, that maybe your first husband, when he was stubborn, was hurtful.
Yeah.
And that you have that dragon wound along with the challenge of raising maybe a strong-willed child, a leader, or a child that doesn't know how to regulate their own affect, which requires a different way of parenting. You can't scold those children because they don't know how to manage their emotions. So it just fuels it. But to separate those thoughts out from that dragon, you know what? Growing up, I wasn't noticed. I was controlled. Growing up, I did have to do everything and my efforts weren't seen. And that was hard and I can comfort that. But right now, my family isn't ignoring me or not valuing me. They're just busy and rushed. And maybe the wisdom of my feeling is I need to teach them how to be more grateful verbally.
We totally
I love that.
teach people how to treat
Right.
us.
I love what
which
you're saying.
is,
Yes.
so important. Have you ever categorized the dragons? Do they tend to cluster around certain issues?
The dragons cluster around how I feel about myself, my worthiness, my value, whether or not I belong, whether or not I'm seen, valued, and my worthiness of myself. They also cluster around how I view others. Will someone be there for me or not? Mm-hmm. Do those others have the love I need that they're just withholding because they're mean? Mm-hmm. Or do the other people have what I need, but they're not giving it to me because there's something wrong with me? And usually it's around value, shame, sense of self.
I like that.
But we all have dragons. If you're a human being and you've been raised, in this world, you're going to have a dragon. We're going to have a sense of ourselves. How do I feel about myself? How do I feel about my value, my worth? Do I belong? Do I fit in? I'm going to have a feeling about my feeling.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't want to be seen and heard and valued, because then that means, you're self-centered, or you're,
right.
Using the old term, children should be seen and not heard.
Right.
So if I want to be seen and heard, well, that's maybe selfish or
there's so much here.
Yeah.
I'm just writing down sort of the clusters of dragons. And appearance is a dragon for a lot of people.
Yes.
And
so when something brushes up against that.
When Tana asks me, how do I look in this? And I'll often joke, it's like, do you want the truth or do you want me to just say it looks awesome?
Yes. And, we want both.
Right.
How do I look in this? We want to have our spouse reflect back to us. You are such a beautiful person. And I'm so glad I'm going out with you tonight. And I can't wait just to, enjoy you. But, you're wearing white pants and we're going to be sitting outside on a bench. Consider wearing jeans. Be constructive, because then I can trust you. But sometimes I'm not asking you, does these colors match? And is this top, do you like the frills? I don't want to know that. What I want to know is, do you see into me? Do you just take delight in me and cherish me? And I'm so glad I'm going to be with you. And you're the love of my life. My husband, my drop-dead gorgeous husband, I call him my salty old pirate. And I'm a slippery mermaid. And he's my lovey. And it's like, you're my mermaid and I can't wait to be with you.
That's so great.
It doesn't matter if he likes the thrill, little frillies on my blouse or not, or if he thinks I should be wearing white pants. It's about this bond. It's about this
Exactly.
connection. It's
No, I
about,
love what you're saying.
yes.
So that's what is
Because
the question?
no, I was just going to use your example. So because sometimes men don't say the things we want them to say, right? But you get away with it because of what she just said. The reason you get away with sometimes saying things that I'm just like roll my eyes is because I feel seen and heard and appreciated and cherished. And so even when you say something stupid, it doesn't really, it rolls off. There's the difference. It
Yes.
rolls off because I know he
Yes.
doesn't mean to hurt me. I know he
Yes.
is being silly, or I know that you genuinely care because you show that.
Well, and let's talk about that in the next podcast, is how do couples establish that bond
Right.
of trust?
That's what we're really getting at.
Because then, I
Yes.
always found for myself, you can say something constructive to me, critical even, if I trust you.
Right.
If I don't trust you, I generally won't let you do that.
Right.
So stay with us. We are here with Dr. Sharon May.
is
She's
so good.
a psychologist, relationship expert, the author of How to Argue So Your Spouse Will Listen, also Safe Haven Marriage. You can find out more about her couple intensive works and her group couples work at safehavenrelationshipscenter.com.
Yes.
I love that.
Stay with us.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're considering coming to Amen Clinics or trying some of the brain healthy supplements from BrainMD, you can use the code podcast10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com, or a 10% discount on all supplements at brainmdhealth.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.